Like, what if there's an evil rabbit overlord of this planet, and he's wrecking the planet and stuff like that. And I don't know, I think there was like a little bit of the Lorax thrown in there for no good reason at all, making it a little Dr. Seussy and everything like that. But sometimes we just wanted to see, well, what do? We have, Beast Man show up again, or Merman. Well, let's do something really weird. So we just did this one weird cartoon. So let's take him to kind of like Looney Tune land for an episode.
Greetings, stranger. I am Plunder, the rightful ruler of trainers.
The rightful destroyer, you mean?
Oh, since you don't like what I've done to the outside, Gleedle, you'll be happy to know I've got a lovely spot picked out for you in my dungeon.
Skeletor, he was, again, he didn't have a ton of oomph to him as far as being able to write. He was the bad guy. He wanted Eternia. He wanted to control things. And yet, we were told to steer away from giving him too many dimensions. Like, for one thing, he couldn't have, towering moments of rage like, Doctor Doom, where he'd go on. He was more he got more pissy than actual, terrifying in his rage. And he was always knocking his cohorts around. He was basically the boss. And, he could be clever to a degree, but he couldn't really be all that smart, and he couldn't, he couldn't play charming like Captain Hook. It's a lot more fun to have a villain who's got different levels to him. It's a lot more fun with a character like the Joker, who walks into a situation and who can play the funny clown and who can single somebody out and kind of laugh around with them a little bit and then just shove them under a moving bus. That sort of unpredictability and that manic side was totally gone from Skeletor. He was just pretty much the bad guy. And, his underlings had gimmicks, like Beastman and Merman and Triclops and all the other ones. And there was some fun to be had in playing them, stupid or, maybe a little bit ambitious on their own. But as far as getting into the motivations of the characters, in a lot of cases we were actually told to stay away from that, just make them the bad guy. And I'm thinking, like, you can have a lot more fun if you play them, with a little more, color to them, a little more shading, a little more, depth to the character. But it was like, no, kids don't want that, just good guy, bad guy stuff.
Your mistake will cost you dearly, old enemy. I'm about to rid Eternia of your hated presence forever. You'll feel nothing, He-Man, but you will no longer be a problem to me. By the powers of darkness, evil, and fear, I command He-Man's memory to now disappear.
Season 1 of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe Top 5, episode number 3. Now, to the third best episode of Season 1. Prince Adam No More, written by Paul Dini and directed by Gwen Wetzler. Prince Adam No More was the 29th produced episode of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. In this superheroic story, Prince Adam has an identity crisis and vows to prove himself worthy without becoming He-Man.
Please, great Skeletor, give me one more chance.
Unfortunately for him, the evil Beast Man is out to prove he can be just as bad as Skeletor.
Silence, you furry fool! I've had it with your whining and bumbling.
I'll tell you, one of the most touching shows was when Prince Adam felt sad that his father didn't recognize him for what he was capable of doing. And when I read that, well, number one, we went over that with probably Don Roberts, because it's something that all children go through, I imagine, having their parents be proud of them and then to have this magic quality that you would love to be able to do something big for your parents. To really, I really loved that show. My father died when I was 14 and a half years old, and he never had an opportunity to see me grow up as an adult and be, I mean, we were very, very poor. It was perfect for me, and have a show that allowed the son to do for his father something that was worthwhile. It struck a personal chord in me.
Beastman didn't hurt my son, did he?
No, he's fine.
I love that boy, you know. I'm hard on him sometimes, but I hope he knows how much I care. It's hard for a father to say, I love you, to his son.
Sometimes it's hard for Adam to say that, too.
He-Man, the characterization of him was pretty true to life, I think. He was vulnerable. He had his doubts. He, of course, was He-Man. He could transform and become this superpower and stuff. But I would say a person with a conscience and foibles and everything else. He was vulnerable, which is probably why he's lasted so long.
Yeah, he wanted to be He-Man full-time. That's just natural, like why should I be, like everybody looks down on me as Prince Adam, and yet I'm the chosen one, I have the power, and I can go off and be a hero on my own. Why? And my dad's not proud of me. I don't want to be the dorky guy anymore. I want to be the hero full-time. And it dealt with the ramifications of what would happen if he gave up that identity. And what makes him heroic is the fact that he does make a sacrifice and goes back to that identity and says, well, I have to at least play this role, at least for now, and in order to safeguard that with which I've been entrusted. So, that makes him more of a hero. I think if he had given it up and just gone off and been He-Man all the time, it's like, well, I'm going to use my superpowers all the time. Well, at some point that can be corruptive.
You seem troubled, Adam. How can I help?
For a long time, I've had the power of He-Man, but to keep that power a secret, I've had to pretend, to be careless and irresponsible. More than anything, I want to give up that disguise and make my father proud of me.
It's Spider-Man walking away from the trash can with the Spider-Man suit, and it's, Spider-Man no more, even though, the focus is a little different, but it's like, Clark Kent wanting to give up the glasses and be Superman all the time. It's just a reversal on, I want to give up my other identity, whether it's I want to give up my more meek identity and be a hero all the time, or I want to give up the superhero identity that's causing me so much trouble. Every hero goes through those moments of where they want to hang up the cape and the mask. So why not do it here? I mean, if he had to be Adam all the time and never question those things, I doubt I would have had that much fun writing the show.
Why didn't you turn to He-Man, lad?
I wanted to show my father that I could be a hero too, but I failed.
Look, son, you were given He-Man's power for a reason, to help others. No one ever said you could use that power to make yourself happy.
I know that now, and I know what I have to do.
By the power of Grayskull!
Season 1 of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe Top 5, episode number 2. Voted second best episode of Season 1 is Diamond Ray of Disappearance, written by Robbie London and directed by Lou Zukor. Although Diamond Ray of Disappearance was the 4th produced episode of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, it was the first one aired and introduced many of the recurring characters.
You don't recognize it.
Skeletor finds a powerful weapon and uses it to send the residents of Castle Grayskull to another dimension.
I remember when He-Man was first mentioned at the studio, Lou Scheimer brought everyone who was working at the studio at the time into his rather large office, and there weren't that many people at the studio at the time. It was kind of a quiet time for the studio, and we were hoping a new project would come up. And Lou gathered all of us, there might have been 50 of us at the most, and said that we're starting this new project, something that's never been done before in children's animation, a 5-day-a-week strip for Mattel, that Mattel had approached Filmation, and that was the very first I'd heard of the character of He-Man or anything, and that we would be doing it for them. And everyone was very excited about it because we were all hoping